Have you ever noticed that you try to fix your life, but every time the same old version of you comes back? You change your habits, you change your routine, you change the people around you, but the one thing that matters most remains unchanged. You. And that is the most dangerous truth in Rebuild Yourself. The book says your life is not stuck because you lack opportunities. You are stuck because you are still living with the same mindset that brought you here. Think about it. If the same way of thinking keeps giving you the same pain, can that same thinking create a new life for you? No. That is why people can work hard for years and still remain the same broken person inside. They changed everything on the outside, but nothing on the inside. This book says you do not need to change your life first. You need to change the version of yourself that is living it. Understand this deeply. Your problems are not created by your decisions alone. They are created by your identity. If deep down you see yourself as weak, you cannot make strong decisions for long. If you see yourself as unlucky, opportunities can stand right in front of you and still pass you by. That is why some people fall again and again and still get back up, while others fall once and spend the rest of their lives on the ground. The difference is not talent. The difference is identity. This book teaches that if you want to change your story, you don't just need to write a new chapter. You need to become a new character. And once you understand that, struggle does not disappear, but it stops breaking you. So the real question is this: do you want to improve your life, or are you truly ready to change yourself? Because those are two very different things, and that difference is what separates an average life from a powerful one. When you say you want to change your life, most of the time you mean you want the outside world to change. More money, better people, fewer problems, more respect. But changing yourself means being ready to let go of your old version. And that is the hardest part. Because people are not really afraid of pain. They're afraid of change. You can live with pain, but you avoid breaking the old version of yourself. That is why you repeat the same mistakes again and again. You know what's wrong, and yet you do it anyway. Why? Because your mind sees the familiar as safe, even when the familiar is pain. This book says you are not trapped in your comfort zone. You are trapped in your identity zone. Feel that for a moment. If you believe you are lazy, you can watch all the motivation in the world, but after a few days you will return to the same pattern. If you believe you are weak, you may act strong for a while, but not permanently, because the voice inside will keep reminding you that this is not who you are. And eventually, you will believe it. That is the invisible cage most people live in their entire lives. So how do you get out of it? The book gives a powerful method. First, identify, then break, then build. Deliberately identify who you are right now. How do you think? How do you react? What are you afraid of? Break the patterns that keep you pulling you backward. Then build the new version of yourself that you actually want to become. Imagine this. You want to start something new. Immediately, a voice inside says, "What if I fail?" And you stop. If you remain the same person, the result will remain the same. But if you consciously say, "I'm the kind of person who tries and learns," what happens? You take action. The result changes. That is rebuilding. A small shift, but it changes the entire direction of your life. You may think change comes from one huge step, but this book says change happens through micro decisions. Every time you act despite fear, you change your identity. Every time you challenge a negative thought, you create a new pattern. Every time you treat yourself with respect, you raise your own value. These small moments come together to create a new person. Now imagine making 5 or 10 conscious decisions like that every day. After 30 days, would you still be the same person? No. You would have changed from within. And once you change from within, the outside world begins to treat you differently. The people may be the same, but their behavior changes. The opportunities may be the same, but now you begin to see them. Why? Because you have changed. This book says life shows you only what you are internally ready to receive. Here's a deeper truth. You are not getting it because you are not ready, and you are not ready because you are not getting it. That cycle continues until you break it. And there is only one way to break it. Change yourself first, then the world changes. Reflect on that. Once you take that step, you realize the problem was never fully outside you. Your version was outdated. And the truth is, you are still living like yesterday's person. Old fears, old thinking, old limits, and then you expect a new future. How? If the software is never updated, how can the system run faster? That's the next level of this book. You don't just need to change, you need to upgrade. What does upgrading mean? It means you cannot remain the same person you are now. You will have to leave something behind. Old excuses, old habits, old identity. And this is where most people stop. They want change, but they don't want loss. They want a new life, but they also want old comfort. That is not possible. This book says every new level demands the death of an old version. And that death doesn't happen outside, it happens within. Imagine you get an opportunity to do something big, but a voice inside says, "I'm not ready," and you step back.
Now ask yourself, when will you become ready? When everything is perfect? When fear disappears? When confidence arrives on its own? No, that will never happen. Because confidence comes from action, and action begins when you move forward despite fear. The book says you do not take action because you are ready. You become ready by taking action. That mindset shift changes everything. How you see yourself becomes your limit. If you see yourself as small, you will step back even when big opportunities appear. If you see yourself as capable, you will turn even small opportunities into something greater. The difference is not outside, it is inside. Here's the truth. What you have in life right now is the result of your current identity, and what you do not have is also the result of that identity. So if you want a new result, you must become a new person. How? The book gives a simple but powerful method. Act like the person you want to become. Start behaving like the person you are trying to build. If you want to become confident, speak like someone who is confident. If you want to become disciplined, work with discipline. If you want to become strong, stop running away from difficulty. In the beginning, it may feel fake, but slowly it becomes real, because the mind begins to accept what it repeatedly experiences. Here's a deeper observation. Every day, you are voting for your future. With every decision, you are either strengthening your old version or your new version. There is no middle ground. Your life is the result of your daily votes. Imagine choosing consciously every day to think a little better, act a little better, become a little better. For a few days, you may see nothing, but inside, everything is changing. Then one day, you suddenly don't recognize yourself anymore because you have become the person you once admired. That is rebuilding. Slow, silent, powerful. And once you accept this process, you stop trying to change quickly and start changing correctly. But this is where another truth appears. You want to change, but you cannot stay consistent. 2 days of motivation, 3 days of action, then back to the same pattern. And then you tell yourself, "I can't do this." But the book says the problem is not that you cannot do it. The problem is that you built the wrong system. You connect change with emotion. When you feel good, you work. When the feeling disappears, you stop. That's the biggest mistake. Because emotions are not stable. Today they are high, tomorrow they are low. If you live according to emotion, your progress will be just as unstable. Strong people are not always motivated. Strong people are committed. Understand the difference. Motivation says, I'll do it when I feel like it. Commitment says, I'll do it because it needs to be done, whether I feel like it or not. That's where the real rebuilding begins. Imagine waking up in the morning with no desire to do anything productive. In that moment, you have two choices. You can live by your mood, or you can live by your goal. People who live by mood stay where they are. People who live by goals slowly move ahead. The difference is daily decisions. Another thing is that you overestimate yourself and underestimate the process. Steady, you think you will change quickly. But when results don't appear in a week, you quit. The gentle emphasis. The book says slow progress is still progress. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be consistent. Warm authority. Perfect people don't exist, but consistent people win everywhere. Brief breath. Here's a deep truth. Your problem is not that you are not strong. Your problem is that you keep starting but never finish. Reflective. And every unfinished thing breaks your confidence a little more. Then you begin to doubt yourself. Self-trust is built when you keep the promises you make to yourself. Small promises. Today I will read for 10 minutes. Today I will work for 20 minutes. Today I will not complain. Warm conviction. When you keep these small promises, your mind begins to trust you. And once self-trust is built, your identity starts changing. You become the kind of person who does what they say. That is power. Transition. You may think discipline is hard, but the book says discipline is not hard. An undisciplined life is hard. Think about it. Without discipline, you live in stress, guilt, and confusion. With discipline, you live with clarity, focus, and calm. So what is truly difficult? Discipline or a life without discipline? The choice is yours. Fresh energy. Here's another powerful shift. Clear contrast. You chase results, but the book says results follow systems. Steady. If your system is strong, results will come. If your system is weak, results will not last. Directive but calm, so change your focus. Stop obsessing over results. Focus on systems, daily actions, daily habits. Warm conviction, that's what rebuilds you. Slowly, it carries you to a level where success is no longer just effort, it becomes identity. And when you reach that point, you don't have to push growth. Growth naturally happens. Lower pitch. That's when the biggest shift happens. Deliberate. You stop pushing life forward. Life begins pushing you forward. Pause for 0.6 seconds. But there's a subtle danger here that very few people understand. Calm warning. As soon as you start growing, your old version begins pulling you back. Old thoughts, old excuses, old people, old habits, they all become active again. Why? Because your mind wants stability, not change. It doesn't care whether you are happy, it only wants you to remain familiar. Reflective. That's why you can be making progress and suddenly fall backwards. Then you wonder why you can't stay consistent. Reassuring. The book says you are not weak, you are in the rewiring phase. Measured contrast. Your old version and new version are fighting each other. Subtle contrast. One says, move forward. The other says, leave it, this is safer. Lower pitch. Most people give up at this stage. Encouraging. But those who understand this phase know it is not a setback, it is a transition. Brief breath. Here's a powerful observation. Reflective. The higher you rise, the lonelier it can feel. Steady. Because your thinking is changing, your priorities are changing, and the people who once felt aligned with you may no longer feel aligned in the same way. Lower pitch. That moment is dangerous.
Because you will either grow or you will adjust yourself back into your old life. The book says growth is not comfortable. Growth makes you different. So the question is this: are you ready to become different, or will you stay the same and keep playing safe?
Another truth is that you may think once you change, your life will become perfect. It will not. Problems do not disappear. Problems upgrade. The difference is simple. Earlier, small things broke you. Now you can handle bigger things. That is real growth. Now you do not just react, you respond. Now you do not panic, you plan. Now you do not blame, you improve. And that is the level where you realized you did not need life to become easier. You needed yourself to become stronger. Here's a deep realization. You do not need to control everything. You only need to control yourself. You cannot change people. You cannot always fix situations, but you can choose your reaction. And once you take hold of that power, your life begins to stabilize. Chaos may still exist outside, but inside there is clarity. Fear may still appear, but it can no longer stop you. Failure may still happen, but it no longer defines you. That is the difference between an ordinary life and an upgraded life. The final shift is this. You stop chasing life. You start building yourself. And once you build yourself, life begins moving toward you. Opportunities, people, respect, everything slowly begins to align, because now you are ready. And when a person is ready, life does not hold them back, it pushes them forward. That is where your real journey begins. But there is one final thing, and it may be the most important. You have heard this, you have understood it, you may have even felt it, but the truth is, understanding alone does not change a life. You have understood many things before. You have heard many motivational ideas before. But if you're honest with yourself, did anything truly change? Maybe a little, or maybe almost nothing. That's the difference between knowing and doing. This book repeats one truth again and again. Applied knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Until you use this in your daily life, all of it remains only words. Now imagine taking this seriously for just 30 days. Every day, observe yourself. Every day, filter your thoughts. Every day, upgrade your actions. What would happen? Your life would begin to change, slowly, silently, permanently. Because you would not be working only on the outside, you would be working on the inside. And when change happens inside, the outside results cannot stay the same. The choice is still in your hands. Will you go back to the same old life after this moment, or will you start rebuilding yourself today? The opportunity is now. The power is now. The decision is now. And if you don't decide now, you may never decide. Remember this. You can change your story, but only when you are ready to change yourself. You can remain average, or you can upgrade. You can wait, or you can create. You can live in excuses, or you can live through action. But whatever you choose will become your identity. So decide today. Will you remain the same old person, or will you build yourself into someone new? Because first, you have to become new. The rest of the world changes after that.